All right, hello and welcome everybody. Are you curious about real estate news and market updates? Or maybe you just like to know about local events and happenings or what it's like to live in Northwest Indiana? Well, if any of that sounds like you, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Word Around Town, episode 17. I'm Steve Jamrok with Realty Executives Premier, and my goal is to keep you updated and educated on what's happening in the real estate world, along with the important topics that are impacting our Northwest Indiana communities. And this week's episode, I have a lot to cover with you. We are already a month down in 2026, so we'll do a quick market update and take a look at the numbers in Lake and Porter County. And then many of you may be thinking about buying a home in 2026, so I'll give you a quick refresher on the steps you should take when kicking off your home buying process. And there's some new bills being debated in the Indiana Legislature that could affect you as homeowners or if you're buying or selling a property. And the weekly Bears Moving to Indiana update for you. And finally, we'll get into the Word Around Town and check out some of the great local events and other things that are going on around Northwest Indiana. But first, as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time watching or listening over on Spotify, I greatly appreciate you and I welcome you. So go ahead. I'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button for me. And again, if you like what you hear, give it a thumbs up and share this with anybody you know who might find this interesting. Any comments, questions, suggestions, leave them below in the comment box. All right. So we are a month in to 2026 already, and right now, our market is a little interesting still. We still got some homes that are flying off the market and other homes that are just kind of sitting there. Buyer demand is still a little bit stagnant out there. I think everybody's a little bit excited that rates are coming down. I think we're definitely gearing up to get things moving here as the weather breaks a little bit more. But right now, the numbers are again a little stagnant when we look at January of 2025 versus January of 2026. Very, very similar in Lake and Porter County, what we're going to go over, what we're seeing right now. The one interesting part with that is when we started January of 2025, we had interest rates just above 7%. And this year, we have interest rates that are closing into, well, not closing in, they are in the low sixes right now, very close to getting under 6%. But yet the numbers don't indicate much movement there. So we're sitting very similar to where we were at this point last year. So that kind of tells me maybe a potential little bit of slowdown. But again, the weather's been much worse this year. So we'll take another month or two worth of data before we form any kind of real opinions. But right now, again, it's just kind of been status quo as far as the market goes. Nothing overwhelming, but yet not underperforming either. So taking a look at Lake County in January of 2025, the median sales price was $258,000. This year, in January 2026, the median sales price, $268,000. That's fairly consistent with what we saw throughout the entire year. And then the number of homes for sale, last January, there were 1,198 homes available for sale. And this year, 1,237. Pending home sales in January of 2025 were 422. This year in Lake County, in January 26, we had 428. And closed sales in January 2025 were 362, and closed sales this year in January of 2026 were only 322. Now, the median days on market, this is the time that a property lasts on the market from the time it's listed until an offer is accepted on it. In January of 2025, that number was 27 days. And this year, that number increased to 33 days median time on the market. Now, this one's also interesting. The percentage of list price to sales price in January of 2025 was 96%. That's the percentage of the sale price compared to what it was listed for sale. And it stayed stagnant, 96% in January 26 again. Over in Porter County, the median sales price last year was $319,000 in January. This January, we're up to $321,000. Number of homes for sale last year were 472. This year in Porter County, we only have 428 homes for sale in January of 2026. Pending home sales in January of last year were 163, and this year we're 175. And then the number of homes that closed in Porter County in January of 2025 was 138. And in 2026, we're 124. And guys, I promise you, next time I do this, I will have graphs available. We'll have visuals for you. Still working that out. We'll make it a little bit easier next time for you to actually visualize this. So in the meantime, I'll just go ahead. I'm going to post it down in the comments below so you can see it visually that way. So again, closed sales in 2025 in Porter County was 138. Closed sales in 2026, 124. And then the median days on market in Porter County was 28 days in January of last year. And this year, we're up to 41 days on market in Porter County. So that one's interesting. And then the percentage of a list to sales price for January of 2025 was 96% in Porter County. And this year, we're up to 97% in Porter County. So again, very early numbers. It's only a month in. We'll continue to rack up a few months and take a look at that at the beginning of every month to see how we're doing here. But again, I still predict a fairly strong market here as we go into 2026, as long as we have the inventory available. All right. For those of you that are thinking about purchasing a home in 2026, there are steps you should start planning ahead to do to kick off your home buying search on the right foot. Everybody likes to sit at home, search homes, but one thing you don't want to do is just search, sit at home, search homes. Oh, I want to go look at this one, hit a button, get connected with some random realtor, go out there and look at it. When inventory is tight out there, and especially if buyer demand continues to increase, if interest rates come down, there's going to be more competition out there. So you're going to want to make sure that you are ahead of the game, primed and planned and ready to go to make your home buying search and the whole transactional process as smooth and stress-free as possible. And in order to do that, that starts with meeting with a realtor and finding one that will sit down and have a buyer consultation with you. That means, whether that is online, over the phone, or best yet, in person, one-on-one, face-to-face, where we can discuss all the steps, rules, processes it takes to purchase a home. Now, if you're a seasoned veteran, this is your 15th home you bought, maybe you don't need to do that. But you still need to build some trust and rapport with your realtor. But for those of you, this is your first or second home purchase out there, you haven't bought in a while, it's a little bit different now with some of the rules and regulations and laws that we have to follow. So it's very important to sit down and speak with a realtor to get things started. This helps set expectations, lays out all of our compensation and fees associated with it up front. That way there are no surprises as you go through the transaction. How much do you want to be communicated with? How do you want to be communicated with? Phone call, text, emails, all those, that's all setting expectations. Hey, do I take calls at midnight regarding if the kitchen was blue or orange in that one that we looked at on Main Street? Those, again, are setting expectations that we'll get into. And again, it builds trust. We find out who we are to each other. Sometimes we leave a consultation and say, you know what, this probably ain't going to work out. We're not a good fit. But again, a lot of times we get to know each other, know what you like in a property, know what you're looking for, your time frames, your goals. Everything is up front, set out, and we build a plan from there. We'll take a deep dive into those time frames and goals and what you're looking for in a property and an area, and whether that's realistic. If you come in and you say that, hey, I'm looking for a $200,000 house and I want to be in Ellendale Farms in Crown Point. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. Vice versa, if you tell me that, hey, I want to be on Main Street and I want an updated house that's at least been built in 2020. Well, again, that's probably not going to be, that's not feasible. So again, these are all things that we will go ahead and discuss and talk about and lay out the ground rules up front before we get started. And then we'll go ahead and sign and execute that buyer agency agreement, which again is law in Indiana. This agreement, again, lists the compensation and fees that are in place and that we negotiate beforehand. So again, the costs that are going to be involved before we go out and even start looking at properties. It also defines what I do when representing you as a realtor and what I am bound by law to do when representing you, what I can and cannot disclose. So again, it's an important document to sign and have in place. And again, it just keeps the whole transaction transparent, knowing things up front before you begin your home search and not just meeting some random agent out there. And again, guys, I just want to remind you that these forms are law in Indiana. These aren't just forms that we put into place as realtors to get you to sign and to be represented by a realtor. These are put in place by Indiana law that we have to, before we can go out and show you any properties, we have to have that buyer agency agreement in place. And it still surprises me when I talk to consumers a lot of times, and I talk to potential home buyers who want to see a property, that they scoff at this agreement, that they don't need it. They don't understand it. It's hard to get through sometimes that this is an actual Indiana law. So throughout the year, guys, I'm going to continue to kind of beat a dead horse and remind you that these buyer agency agreements are important. They are law. We can't just say, hey, we want to go look at a property. I'm not signing anything, but I do want to see it tomorrow at 2:00. That's not how it works. We have some new processes in place, and I just wanted to make you all aware. And if you are serious about purchasing a home in 2026 or 2027, 2028, beyond, having that plan in place, having that buyer agency form filled out, getting your pre-approval in place and ready to go, again, just shows that you are a serious consumer, an educated consumer who's ready to go, and we can share that with a seller that says, hey, this person is ready, they are serious. When they put an offer in, they mean business. So if you have any questions about buyer agency agreements or the steps you should take to purchasing a property to get it started on your home search, leave those in a comment box below or reach out to me directly. Again, this is a very important step, so I don't want to pass over it, make it seem like I'm just mentioning it to mention it. This is a really important step, and most of the time, those that have a buyer consultation have much more success in their home buying search than those who just choose random agents left and right. All right, speaking of laws, so Monday, I was down in Indianapolis with a lot of fellow realtors throughout the state of Indiana doing a little bit of lobbying. There are some new bills that are being debated in our legislature that could affect property owners and the real estate transaction. There's three in particular that we were discussing and talking about that I think it's fairly important that you should know. Now, again, these are not law yet. They are still being debated. There are a couple that are probably closer than the third one that we'll get into. My understanding, all of them have a very real chance of passing. Again, the third one might need a few tweaks, but again, moving forward, it'll be worth your while to pay attention if these laws pass and go into effect here in July. All right, first one, we'll go from the easiest to the most complex here. The first one is House Bill 1252. It's the disclosure of referral fees in a real estate transaction. My understanding, this is a simple, clean bill. It's not attached to anything. It's a standalone bill. Has the support of just about everybody involved, including us realtors as well. And this is just goes hand in hand with keeping the real estate transaction transparent and being upfront about everything at the beginning of the transaction. So disclosure of referral fees would be signed at the beginning of a transaction. This would be if Agent A refers a consumer to Agent B, and Agent B pays a referral fee to Agent A. So, for example, I have a good friend in Indianapolis. They want to refer me a client who's moving up this way, and he says, hey, Steve, I got Jimmy who wants to move up there. Can you help him out? And if by doing so, would you mind, paying me $500 for a referral fee? Yeah, sure. I'll be glad to help him out, send them my way. In the past, I would go ahead and take Jimmy out, look at houses, and then we'd go to the closing. Everything would be fine, close everything, and then I'd pay that referral fee to that other agent. If the bill passes into law, which again, it should, I would have to disclose to Jimmy up front that I am paying his agent down there a referral fee. So again, it just keeps everything transparent. No reason why this shouldn't go. And as realtors, why we shouldn't embrace this. This would also cover, if you listen to any of my other podcasts here in the past about the Zillow lawsuit that they're currently in there about not disclosing referral fees and consumers feeling like they were being steered one way or another because of that. This would help eliminate that as well, knowing that you're paying that referral fee up front. So again, just being fully transparent from the beginning of the real estate transaction is very important here to everybody in Indiana, including us as realtors. All right, the second bill is House Bill 1210. It would include language that prevents rental caps on property as part of a larger government finance bill. So this one here, it's a larger bill, but from my understanding, they included language in there that would limit the amount of homes in a given area. This is single-family properties I'm talking about here, not apartments or multifamily use buildings, but single-family homes that could be used as rental properties. Now, again, this is part of, a lot of it has to do with Airbnb, short-term rentals in certain communities is kind of the gist of it. But the language is really strong. So as realtors, we're against this bill here because we don't want you to be limited on what you can do with your property. If you want to rent out your home and you're doing it within the law, you should be able to do so. So there should not be rental caps on any properties throughout any communities on what you can or cannot do with a property. It is your property. If you want to rent it out, you should go ahead and have the ability to do that. And the fact that it would just limit the single family homes only was a little sketchy as well. So we're hoping that that language gets removed and or rewritten to where the rental caps are not part of that bill. Now, on to the big one here, House Bill 1001. House Bill 1001. This is the biggie. This is what I call the not in my backyard bill. Now, everybody wants affordable housing, and that was the one thing one of the things that caught my attention when I was down at the State House. You know, everybody is talking about affordability. You see it on the news everywhere. Affordability is one of the new keywords here in 2026. Well, it looks like our current administration here in Indiana, governor, lieutenant governor, legislatures, lawmakers are all pushing affordability to the forefront. They hear their constituents, from taxes to utility bills to everything, housing, everything is expensive. I can assure you they hear you. And it appears that they're trying to work on it and trying to make things better. And so the Not in My Backyard bill, again, that's my name, not the name of the bill, is geared to help eliminate some long-standing red tape that adds to the cost of new construction. Now, everybody wants affordable housing except when it's going to be built in their backyard. That's why I personally call this the Not in My Backyard bill. Excuse me. This bill, again, is intended to support and promote affordable home ownership by cutting through regulations that add to the price of new construction homes. Now, why is this coming into place? Why is this important to the administration and to us as realtors? Well, again, if you've listened to previous podcasts I put out here, you will remember, or maybe not, that the average age of the first-time buyer is now 40 years old. That's not good. If we want to set up our future generations to succeed financially and just to get the heck out of our house. I don't want my kid living in my house until I'm 40. That would be crazy. Then we need to go ahead and make sure that home ownership is still attainable to the younger generation. Home building in Indiana is down 40% from the 10-year period of 2014 to 2024 versus the previous 10-year period. So again, new construction, even though it looks like things are getting built and happening throughout the state of Indiana, especially here in Northwest Indiana, we're still that far behind as far as homes needed to fill this lack of inventory. Also, in the past 5 years, Indiana has grown by 125,000 households, but have only issued 100,000 building permits throughout the state during that same time. And then this is also with existing home sales. In 2015, Indiana had a statewide, let me rephrase that. In 2015, statewide, Indiana averaged 30 available homes per day on their multiple listing services. Again, statewide. So at any given time, on any given day in 2015, you'd see about 30,000 available listings throughout the state of Indiana. In 2025, that number was down to 16,000. So again, people are staying in their houses longer. They have the great interest rates. Homes aren't becoming available. We're not building quick enough. And when we do build, there's so much regulation and red tape involved that it's getting added on to the cost of the house. Prices are going up. So in new construction, and prices are going up because of the lack of inventory in existing homes. Henceforth, little Johnny, little Janie are living in your basement until they're 40. And again, we're trying to prevent that and trying to get people into home ownership as quickly as possible. Now, House Bill 1001, I could tell you that a lot of people are not going to like it. A lot of local municipalities aren't going to like it because it takes away their control, but it supports a higher density development by eliminating minimum setbacks, parking minimums, and some lot size requirements, that require at least 1/8 of an acre or more. So basically, they're saying that we're going to streamline the process and forget all the restrictions that you have, and we're going to try to build housing in here almost as quickly as possible. It eliminates required building aesthetics like decorative materials, all those items that, hey, we require the front of the house to be 80% brick, but vinyl siding everywhere else. Well, that just adds to the cost of the property. And then it limits permitting fees to only basic administrative costs. So this streamlines the zoning approvals I jumped ahead here, but this limits permitting fees to only basic administrative costs. So right now, there's a lot of communities and municipalities that just add in everything onto the permit side. If there's a whatever kind of fee that they have for that community, they put it into the permit. So builders are paying more and more and more for a building permit just to get construction started. And where does the cost of that permit goes? It goes into the cost of the house, which is passed on to the consumer, driving up the housing prices. This bill also streamlines zoning approvals for accessory dwellings and mixed-use development. So, again, it's trying to eliminate all the red tape. If somebody wants to build a commercial building with retail on the bottom retail on the bottom and residences up top, something along those lines would help streamline that process to make it easier to do that. Or if you wanted to build, a little grandma house in your backyard, you can go ahead and do that without so much regulation as well. So again, that is House Bill 1001. Again, what's good about this is that it's going to stop municipalities from piling on fees to builders up front that later get passed on to the homeowner. It's going to allow builders to build smaller, more affordable homes, this is the intention of the bill. A lot of times builders wouldn't touch smaller starter homes because there was no money in it, or it didn't make sense to build a small starter home on a half-acre lot that was required by a municipality. So it should give home buyers also more options as well. If they're not, if they're going down to sit down to have a home built, maybe they don't need all that decorative stone out front or the facade, or, hey, everybody requires a 2-car garage. I don't need a 2-car garage. Just things like that will help eliminate some of the cost of housing and make it a little bit more affordable. The bad of the bill, local government, again, is not going to like it because they lose control. Now, the good thing is for those communities and municipalities that do have a comprehensive plan in place and a set of ordinances that are recent and updated, those ordinances stay. the state law does not supersede those ordinances. So that's very important to know as well. But for those communities who haven't updated their master plan or their ordinances for some time, and they're stuck with some archaic rules and laws that are preventing new construction, this bill, that is what this bill is targeted for, to help push that through there. And then the other negative here, I know homeowners, they're going to jump on this one. I've already seen it throughout social media that they're going to see this as a threat to their property values, and they shouldn't see that as a threat to their property values. Our property values here have gone up tremendously throughout Northwest Indiana, throughout the state of Indiana as well. A starter home community being built near you is not going to bring down your values. Your homes are going to be compared to those homes. So it's just going to open the door again for home ownership, for people to get in there. If we're concerned about rental properties, or we're concerned about starter home properties, we need to hold landlords and homeowners more accountable. But we shouldn't penalize home builders for getting out there and wanting to build those type of houses that are much needed. And if we don't address this soon, it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem as people will either start leaving the area for affordable housing elsewhere, or again, Jimmy and Janie are going to be living in your basement until they're 40 years old, and that's not what we want. So again, a lot of exciting news happening down there in state, but those are the three bills that will be looking to pass into law here during this session. All right. Also down there in Indianapolis, this really surprised me. The Chicago Bears moving to Northwest Indiana. It's not going away. It's actually getting louder and louder, and without much noise from Illinois, it seems like this is a real possibility here. So, all right. So Chicago Bears are still considering their choices, whether they move to Northwest Indiana or they stay in Illinois with their Arlington Heights property. Now, out of Illinois, time is ticking. There's not much that you've heard there. We're over in Indiana. There is full support from lawmakers and people in Indianapolis and throughout the state for this project. It really is surprising to me that the amount of support that this is getting and how many people approve this. Just in talking with realtors throughout the throughout the Indianapolis area and throughout the state, this is a talk of the town. As soon as they found out I was from Northwest Indiana, they were like, "Oh, the Bears! Hey, what do you think?" And they all were really excited for it. I think everybody, and lawmakers included, see the potential economic impact that move would have to Northwest Indiana. And I'm telling you again, it has full support. There was not one negative thing I heard coming out of Indianapolis about the Bears potentially moving to Northwest Indiana. Now, with that said, recently there was a report off of ESPN 1000 on the Waddle and Sylvie show. And ESPN 1000 is the Bears' home network, so I think they're probably in tune a little bit there. But they had sources that told them that the Bears are Bears are tentatively giving the state of Illinois kind of a non-hard deadline, but saying that if they don't hear anything by the end of their legislative session, which supposedly ends at the end of February, beginning of March, if that comes up and they adjourn and the Bears don't have any kind of answer or update on what they're looking for in their Arlington Heights move, then the Bears are probably out and going to Indiana. So again, the smoke is getting darker and darker. I think, when we started talking about this months ago, when I first started this podcast, I thought it was a real long shot, but again, I think I said it's a long shot, but if it was ever going to happen, now is the time. Well, it might be the time. It's really interesting when you have that many, you have something that just brings both sides of the aisle as far as political parties together. When you have that strong of support and from a business decision as far as the Bears go, it's really almost a no-brainer to choose what Indiana has to offer. But it's that legacy hang up. Does McCaskey want to be the guy that brings one of the founding franchises of the NFL, from Chicago to Indiana? I think that's probably the big hiccup. But man, there is so much support for this project. It's really exciting to talk about. It kind of gives me goosebumps to see what could happen come at the end of February or early March. So I'll keep you posted here, but just want to give you my weekly update that the drums are beating louder for the Bears coming to Northwest Indiana. All right, speaking of Northwest Indiana, there's quite a bit going on here. Things are getting approved and done even through the winter months. NIPSCO, I know NIPSCO's been in the news. Everybody opening up their bills this winter. Costs of utilities is out of control, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about expansion. And NIPSCO finally got their approval to expand their Schaefer generating station in Wheatfield in Jasper County, which includes a data center down there. Imagine that. But that NIPSCO expansion, they're changing over from coal to a natural gas generating facility down there that will help increase the utility output to our area, and of course to help support the growing data center buildings that are coming throughout Northwest Indiana. Over in Crown Point, we have a new Panera Bread that just opened on the 109th corridor, and then this one was really exciting to hear. For years along the North Lake County, along the Grand Calumet River, that area was so polluted for years from all the factories and mills along there and everybody dumping things in there. And over the last decade or two, they've been doing a great job of trying to clean up the area, restore to a natural habitat. Well, they just received a Indiana Department of Environmental Management just received a $200 million award to help with the continued cleanup of the Grand Calumet River area. So again, the more that area gets cleaned up, the better it is for everybody here throughout Northwest Indiana. Back to Crown Point real quick. There was a new subdivision that got preliminary approval, talking about getting homes built quickly. But Lennar, the home builder Lennar, is looking to put in a new subdivision along South Delaware Street. So south of town would be south of the current new subdivision that Old Top's putting in there called the Willows. That's kind of just west of the hospital on Delaware Street. Again, this was the first reading which was approved, so they'll go back to do a little more planning and then bring back for final approval. But again, a new subdivision is planned for the south side of Crown Point on Delaware Street. All right. Next weekend, if you want to get ahead of see what's happening in new construction and home design, there's a really awesome event, the Home Builders Expo in Porter County at the Porter County Fairgrounds. If you've never been, it's a really cool event. You can talk to home builders. You can see what's happening in new construction, new designs, what some of the trends are with home design and building. But again, that's February 14th and 15th at the Porter County Expo Center at the Fairgrounds. And then ice skating is still open throughout Northwest Indiana. Don't forget that, guys. We have some great ice rinks. Bulldog Park here in downtown Crown Point, downtown Valparaiso at Central Park, and, of course, Deep River Water Park still offering ice skating for the season. Tomorrow, February 7th, there's a stand-up comedy show at the Hobart Art Theater, and the Northwest Indiana Comic Con is taking place at the Lake County Fairgrounds. Chesterton Art Center for this weekend is offering some numerous classes on pottery, the portrait drawings, and more. So good way to get out of the cold. Check out your artistic side. Give the Chesterton Art Center a look. Over in Memorial Opera House in Valparaiso, a small town, a John Mellencamp tribute band is playing. Again, really cool venue, the Memorial Opera House in Valpo. Great place to see a show, and small town's a great act to catch. And then if you want to get outside and enjoy the weather, you can go ahead and head over to the Paul Douglas Environmental Education Center in Miller for snowshoeing through the Miller Woods. That's tomorrow afternoon. And then finally, Hometown Happenings Donut Dash starts at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow at St. Matthias Church in Crown Point. That's across from the Crown Point High School. Tim Feely, Hometown Happenings, always puts on great events and races there, and that is the Donut Dash starting tomorrow at 7:30. I think race starts at 8 o'clock. So that's what's happening around Northwest Indiana. A lot of news in real estate for you. I'll continue to keep you updated on what's happening with those House bills through the General Assembly. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, again, leave them in the comment box or reach out to me directly. Always happy to answer any questions or have discussions on the real estate market and our Northwest Indiana communities. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week. Take care.